Alrighty. Apparently, Elon Musk saved the world from World War III last year. At least that's according to his biographer. What's his name? Let me double check. Uh, Walter Isaacson. So, yeah, Elon Musk is apparently a hero because or else then we all be in World War III right now, and very likely most of us would be dead. So, yeah. So let's check this out. And also, guess what? Elizabeth Warren demands an investigation of Elon Musk because he refused to use he refused to allow Starlink to be used in order to make sure everything is good, in order to have the Ukrainians bomb the Russian fleet and stop World War III. That makes Elizabeth Warren very angry. So let's check this out. This is an article from Politico. I'm going to read not all of it, but a little bit of it. Elon Musk biographer Walter Isaacson took to social media to try to clarify an excerpt in his upcoming book that detailed how Musk purportedly thwarted a planned Ukrainian drone strike. That looks better. The extract, which describes how Musk told the engineers to disable Starlink satellite communications near Russian-occupied Crimea last year to frustrate an attack on Russian warships, had faced fierce backlash. Fierce backlash, since being published on Thursday. The Ukrainians thought that the coverage enabled all the way to Crimea, but it was not, Isaacson said in a post on Saturday. Instead, he said the military officials asked the billionaire entrepreneur to enable coverage for the drone attack. Musk did not enable it because he thought, probably correctly, it would cause a major war, the author added. But the original excerpt published in the Washington Post said that Musk secretly told his engineers to turn off coverage within 100 kilometers of the Crimean coast, causing Ukraine's drones to lose connectivity and wash ashore harmlessly. Mikhailo Polyak, I butchered that name, but that's what we're going with, advisor to the office of Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, said Musk's decision to allowed the Russian fleet to attack Ukrainian cities. This is the price of a cocktail of ignorance and big ego, he said in a social media post on Thursday. Russian officials, meanwhile, praised the move. The supposed sabotage happened just as relations started cooling between Ukrainian forces and Musk, who had been helping keep Ukraine online since the beginning of the Russian invasion through his Starlink satellites. Musk, fearing the conflict could become another world war, had started restricting the Ukrainian military's use of Starlink in Russian-controlled regions for drone control. Isaacson biography Elon Musk is set to be released September 12th. So, yeah, I mean, if this is true, Elon Musk saved the world from World War III, and I don't have a problem with this. In fact, he deserves some praise for this, because a lot of us would be dead right now if it wasn't for Elon Musk deciding to disable Ukraine's access to Starlink. So now, Elizabeth Warren demands an investigation of Elon Musk. So let's go to a CNBC clip real quick, and then I'll react to it. So let me just adjust this real quick. Excuse me. Let me make an adjustment here. Yeah, this needs more adjusting. Excuse the technical difficulties while I do this. Thank you for your understanding. Alright, here we go. Let's do that. Good. The video is actually called Senator Elizabeth Warren Calls for Investigation into Elon Musk Starlink. So let's check this out and then I'll react. Oops. I mean, that's... here we go.
It was one Friday night. I'd been with him for a while, but I was back at home in New Orleans watching a high school football game. And I got a message from him, and we started communicating that the Ukrainians were using Starlink to get drone submarines to do a sneak Pearl Harbor-like attack on the Russian fleet in Crimea. And he said, but we're not allowing Starlink to work within 100 kilometers of the coast. I thought mistakenly that he had made that decision that night. Later, after there was a publication, they said, oh no, that's been the policy for a while. We geofenced Crimea so it couldn't be used, so there couldn't be an attack on Crimea using Starlink.
Well, that was Walter Isaacson on Squawk Box this morning, explaining a controversial part of his new book on Elon Musk. Musk reportedly deciding he didn't want Starlink to be used in a way which could possibly start a nuclear war. But now Senator Elizabeth Warren is calling for an investigation. Others are disputing the details of this claim, the claim about Musk, that is. And joining us to help make sense of it all is Amanda Macias, CNBC's national security reporter. Amanda, welcome. What's the latest on this? What are you hearing?
Hey.
A national security reporter. Yeah, she's our national security reporter, guys. And Elizabeth Warren, let me try it again. Warren, it's kind of really early in the morning here where I'm filming this, so, and I have my coffee here, so I may screw some names up. But Elizabeth Warren I said it again, Warren demanding an investigation into this is absurd. I mean, she's just buying into the party line that the Ukrainians are always right no matter what, and she would rather have a world war than protecting the lives of innocent people, not just in Ukraine, not just in Russia, but around the world. Let's keep going.
Hey, Kelly and Tyler, you know, I have to say that I'm not surprised that Senator Warren is asking for this probe, because that portion of Isaacson's book sent shockwaves not only here in D.C., but also the Ukrainian capital, and obviously with NATO allies who are helping to finance Starlink. Now, Isaacson explained a little bit of the details, but I'm happy to rehash. Essentially, in his book, he alleges that Elon Musk told him that he had secretly turned off Starlink satellite systems once he was made aware that the Ukrainians were going to launch a mini Pearl Harbor attack on Russia's Black Sea fleet that's stationed near Crimea. Now, Isaacson on our air today obviously said that that had not been a game day decision, that Musk had previously had a policy in place that the Starlink system would not work in Ukraine throughout the conflict. Now, this calls into question why the United States military doesn't...
Allegedly, Isaacson said on Twitter or on the internet or something, there's an interview where he said initially that Elon Musk decided at the last second to turn off Starlink in order to stop the mini Pearl Harbor attack on Crimea, on the Russian fleet in Crimea. Now the story is that Elon Musk has had this policy for a while, and this isn't new, so which is why the controversy. This is why DC melted down, Kiev melted down, because Elon Musk decided to do this and save the world. So it makes him, if this is true, it makes him like a hero. I don't know how true this is, because again, you know, this is alleged. There's no evidence this happened, but if it did happen, Elon Musk looks like a hero. I'll give my opinion on this after the CNBC clip to give you my opinion, but let's finish watching the CNBC clip first.
Already own something, a militarized version of Starlink, where U.S. presidents or Western governments can make these types of calls.
And so Isaacson says that really what happened was that there was an existing policy. Why did that prevented Starlink from being used by the Ukrainians or anybody else to launch such attacks in that geofenced area around Crimea, or so he says? How come the Ukrainians had not complained about that previous to this book coming out? Why hadn't we heard about this?
Right. So there is an assumption that the Ukrainians believed that once Starlink reached the country, which, by the way, was in the days after Russian troops poured over Ukrainian borders, they had assumed that Starlink was operable throughout the country and they had access to it at all points in all regions.
Well, that's the Ukrainians' fault. Oops, sorry about that. That's the Ukrainians' fault. That's not Elon Musk's fault. You know the old saying about assume, right? If you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. I know that's corny. That my My high school teacher always used to say it to me. So that's why I know that saying inside and out. I mean, I know it's kind of corny, but yeah, so that was the old saying about assume. But yeah, the Ukrainians assume that it's their fault. It's not Elon Musk's fault. I mean, they're the morons. They should have asked whether Starlink had access to Starlink in the whole country, not just certain parts.
And Elon Musk said that actually wasn't the case. And in fact, he made that decision well in advance of this because he was worried about triggering a nuclear war. And as it's understood,
as he should be. We're all worried about that. Ukrainians are psychos for wanting to attack the Russian fleet in Ukraine, in Crimea in particular, and most likely lead to a nuclear war. They're psychotic idiots. I don't want a nuclear war. Neither does Elon Musk, and neither does most of the world. It seems the only people who do want a nuclear war is Washington and Kiev.
the United States, alongside Russia, they own the world's nuclear weapons. And so nuclear saber rattling has been a constant concern throughout Europe and obviously here in the United States. And Elon Musk thought that he was doing this activity in the best interest for the globe in terms of not ratcheting up the conflict even further.
I thought Musk was claiming that that Starlink was not turned on in Crimea because of sanctions.
It's a constant back and forth here, and that does get to the bigger question that Senator Warren is trying to ask, as well as other Democrats who are seated on the Senate Armed Services Committee as they look at appropriations to figure out how much more money they're going to help finance for Ukraine. That why is Elon Musk the point person on foreign policy? That's what Senator Warren...
Because he owns Starlink, and the Pentagon aren't exactly the brightest people. So they allowed Elon Musk essentially to be in charge of Starlink. And they pay Elon Musk a shit ton of money in order to run Starlink for them because they are far too lazy and far too incompetent to run their own internet satellite system. So, yeah, this is on the U.S. military. This isn't on Elon Musk. I mean, he's just collecting the money. And if I were him, I would collect the money too, because ultimately, you know, this is a business. This isn't. I'm not running a charity here from Elon Musk. So yeah, I saved. If this is true, if this story is true, he saved the world from nuclear annihilation. So let's finish this clip up, and then I'll give you my opinion at the end. My opinion on whether I think this is true or not.
Warren asked today, and Senator Durbin, who's the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, also asking why is Elon Musk calling the shots on the terms when it comes to national security matters. So that does get to a bigger statement that I reached out to the Pentagon earlier today, and I just want to read this really quickly. The Pentagon says, "We are aware of the coverage and interest in this topic, and as we stated previously, the department does contract with Starlink for satellite communication services in support of our Ukrainian partners. However, due to the critical nature of these systems and for reasons of operational security, we have not released additional information regarding their specific capabilities or other operational details." They end this statement by saying, "Beyond that, we do not have any additional information to provide." Guys.
All right, Amanda, thank you very much. It raises all.
All right. That's that. So, what's my opinion on this? Did this happen? This didn't happen? What the hell's going on here? Well, part of me thinks it depends because Elon Musk is kind of he's kind of an egotistical asshole, you know? I mean, most billionaires are, but excuse me, especially Elon Musk. So, did this happen? Did he feed this story to Isaacson to write in his book in order to sell more books? Did he feed it to Isaacson because he wanted to look like a hero? I mean, to me, I don't want to believe the world came this close to nuclear annihilation. So, most likely scenarios, Elon Musk exaggerated the story or straight up made it up in order to make himself look like the hero. That's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong or I could be completely right. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion if you ask me. Because I just don't want to think the world came this close to nuclear annihilation. Again, that's naivete on my part, fine. But I just don't want to think the world came this close to a nuclear annihilation, all of us dying a horrible death. Because these Ukrainians and people in power in Washington are psychopaths. They seem not to give a shit about nuclear annihilation. The rest of us do. So we need to back off now if we do actually have a nuclear war on our hands. Well, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think down below in the comments section. Give me a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications. All that very important so you don't miss any of my videos or my stream, which is Friday afternoon, Angel in the afternoon. So check that out. Check out all my other videos on this channel. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.